the way that music on the internet is nowadays, you know, for a lot of bands that started like before the internet was like a really big part of it, it can be scary and stuff like that. And for our band, we started like right before like the big internet boom. I mean, like we had like an mp3.com page, but like other than that, we basically still flyered our shows, and MySpace started to become big like right around when we started to tour and stuff like that. So we used that to work with some tours and stuff. But nowadays, it's so different because with all the social media and everything, like it's kind of expected for band members to be, on the internet all the time, tweeting or Instagramming what they're doing, kind of giving more of what their personal lives are, like behind the scenes and stuff, which is cool. But the only issue with that I find, because when I was a kid, growing up listening to bands, there was always this kind of like mystery about the bands that I liked. Like you didn't know what they did, when they weren't on stage. You didn't know what being backstage was like. You didn't know what what they had for lunch. You know what I mean? Like you didn't know that kind of stuff, and there was this mystery about it. And for me, I know that had a lot to do with why I wanted to get into playing music and everything, because I didn't know about the rest of that stuff and I wanted to know about it. And so I think that that kind of mystery has definitely died down a lot. But as far as like pirating music and all that kind of stuff, I mean, just like with everything nowadays with the internet, I mean, it was inevitable that there was going to be in some way that the internet was going to negatively affect sales of music, just like it is with movies, just like it is with books, just like it is with everything. But I don't think I'm not one of those people that are like, oh, the music industry's dead and everything's, but like I think that there are ways to make it work while using the internet to an advantage. And I think that there's a lot of really cool labels out there, and bands who are breaking the mold and finding new ways to make the internet work for them and work for their business and work for music. And if kids want to download the record for free and get it, as far as I'm concerned, it's still somebody listening to our band. And that's always been something that for us has always been the most important, is getting our music into the hands of people, whether or not they pay for it. Obviously, if they pay for it, it's awesome, because it helps us be able to make more records in the future, because the more records we sell, the bigger budget we get, the more more time we have to make records. But for us, it's all about getting kids to come out to the shows. So the internet is a blessing and a curse as far as the music industry goes, but I don't think it's impossible to roll with the times on it, for sure. I mean, Spotify is awesome. I think it's so cool, but I think that there's definitely a better way. I have no idea what that way is. I'm not gonna come up with some amazing scheme and make $1 million, but I think that they're on the right track. But I think that in a couple years, I think they'll find the right formula in how they can make music streaming apps and websites work, as far as making enough money for the labels to be happy, enough money for the bands to be happy, enough money for the app to be happy, and cost don't cost so much so that it makes it worth it for fans to actually buy into it, because at the end of the day, everybody can get every record they want for free if they want to. If you're willing to work at it, you can find it. So you have to make it worth it for fans to give you that subscription, fee with additional content or something else. But I think they're on the right track, but I don't think it's there yet. I think the reason vinyl's coming back is because, so again, I'll go back to my personal life. Growing up, CDs was the big thing. I mean, when I was younger, it was cassettes, then it switched over to CDs. I used to love getting a CD, going to a store, I'd buy a CD, open it up, I would listen to it, read everything in the book, read all the thank yous, and then I would be like, oh, I haven't heard of these couple of bands that are in the thank yous, go and get those band CDs, and that's how I would find new music. And I get to sit there and hold the artwork and look at the artwork and all this stuff. And I think once things started to switch over more to the digital iTunes, internet, just purchase your digital files, you weren't getting that experience of holding the record and getting to actually look at the artwork and with a fine-tooth comb and really appreciate everything that went into the packaging and the layout and everything that had to do with the record. And I think vinyl is basically the punch in the face response to that. I think, instead of going back to, I want to go get a CD, now I want the artwork this big. I want it to be a cool colored vinyl. I want it to be collectible. I want it to be something that only a few people get to have this exact one of, because, when you go from being a strictly digital, I don't want to say generation because it happens really fast, but you have some kids that grew up where they just went digital, iTunes only, they didn't really buy CDs. And now you have people who are going vinyl. I think the reason is because they wanted that experience of having stuff, and now that they have the ability to have limited edition things, different kinds of colored vinyls and stuff, I think it just makes it more enticing for people to be like, it's a collector's item. It's something that if I really appreciate this record, if I really love this record and I appreciate the band, I can actually have something that I can hold and display and actually take out, blow off, put on my record player and listen to and enjoy the music instead of just having it on the background. Our band, starting out, we knew, we didn't have really any delusions of grandeur, that we knew that we weren't a band that was going to, be on the cover of like Rolling Stone magazine and have $1 million houses and all move to LA. Like, not only were we not that type of band, but we weren't the type of people to put in what needs to be done to do something like that. You know what I mean? Especially nowadays with the social media and everything. Like, we're not savvy enough to do that. Making music for us is the number one most important thing. Like, if I get to play guitar and write songs and travel the world for a living, that's success for me. You know what I mean? Like, I'm able to pay, my bills. I'm able to handle the responsibilities that I have at home with my family and in my personal life, and I get to, be in a band for a living, and it's cool. I don't make $1 million, but I'm able to cover my responsibilities, and the fact that I can support my family and be in a band is how I basically, that's success for me, because, whether we're playing for 300 kids or we're playing for 3,000 kids, I'm still playing shows and I'm still, paying bills, and that's just the coolest thing. It doesn't bother me if I see when I see a phone come up and snap a picture and then go back down, or if we're playing a show and we're playing like an acoustic song and everybody turns their lights on, does that cool thing. But recording entire songs or watching the whole show through your screen, I think the thing that's the most frustrating to me is that when I go to a show, I want to just sit there and look at everything and like obviously listen to the music, but like see what the musicians are playing. What pedals is he using? Oh, look, he's doing this. Or, you miss some fun thing where, the guitar player said something to the singer and they laughed about it, or, you know what I mean? And that's the type of stuff that you won't see through your camera. Do you know what I mean? You won't see it, in, even if your camera's 1080p, the resolution on your eyeballs is way better. You know what I mean? Like, it's just very frustrating to me. If you want to watch the show through your phone, watch the show through your phone. I'm not anybody to tell you how to live and what to do, but you're missing stuff. You know what I mean? Like, you're 100% missing that connection that the band is trying to have with you. And for us, that's the most important part of the show. When we play a show, and even if we played perfect, we didn't mess up a note, we played awesome, if the crowd isn't feeding off our energy and we're feeding off the energy of the crowd, and we have that kind of almost like feedback, like going back and forth, we still come off stage being like, the show is okay. You know what I mean? Like, because, as much as you guys are there to watch us play, we're there to watch you guys, do your thing to our songs. Like, that's why we came. Like, we want to see that emotional reaction when we start playing songs, and what people, how people react to our songs really affects the way we react on stage. And, that's the type of stuff that I feel like, with cell phones, you're just going to miss all that kind of stuff, I think Warped Tour is still punk, and the reason why is because, it doesn't matter really the size of the band. Like, there are bands on this tour who are playing, Monster stage, or playing, Kevin Says stage, or playing, in the last 3 bands of main stage every single day. We all travel the exact same way. We all eat the exact same food. We all sell our merch the exact same way. After the show, everybody does the exact same thing. You know what I mean? Like, and that's what I think is so cool about it, is that it takes every band and puts them on, in some ways, like the same playing field, the same, you know what I mean? Because you don't have, obviously if you're a big band, you have a big draw, but there's no more reason for people to come and see the big band as there is to go see the small band. You know what I mean? Like, there are fluke days where all of a sudden there's a band playing on Kevin Says stage and there's 3,000 people there. And that's the coolest thing, is it doesn't matter about the marketing for the tour. It doesn't matter about, meet and greets before or what you're doing. It really just, all it comes down to is how many people at that show want to spend a half an hour watching your band that day. You know what I mean? And that's the coolest part, is every day is different and you don't know what you're going to get. So I think, in ways, that's what makes Warped Tour still punk. Whether there's dubstep bands on the tour or there's metal bands on the tour or whatever the genre of music that's being played, what made Warped Tour special in the first place is still there, is the fact that you can come to a parking lot near your house and see 20, 30 bands play that will never tour together, ever, other than Warped Tour. And you get to experience all those different types of bands and all that different type of culture all in one spot, all in one day. So I think that's the coolest part. The advice that I would give to anybody who wants to get into music, and whether it's playing in a band or tour managing or doing anything, is the thing that really worked for us is one day we just kind of sat around and we were like, we can't just wait for somebody to find our band. We can't just wait for all of a sudden to get an email being like, oh, I found your band, I want to sign your band, that's so cool. Like, you can't do that. And we set up our own tours, we set up our own shows, we went out, we printed our own merch, we did everything that we could think of to get out to as many people as we could. And I think that was the big thing. Even if we were playing shows where the only people there were the other bands playing the show, which happened plenty of times, I mean, at the end of that show, we still gave 100% to that show, and all the kids who were in the bands were like, oh, your band's awesome. Like, and then they tell their friends, and they tell their friends, and it really comes down to how many people you can personally connect with, in the shortest amount of time. Whether your band is drawing 0 kids or not, somebody's going to be there, whether it's the other band you're playing with or fans or their girlfriends or somebody, and that's just how it starts. It just trickles, you know what I mean? And that's kind of the way it worked with us. We did 2 or 3 full U.S. tours where we didn't have anything. Like, we were lucky enough to have really supportive parents. So, when we were in the middle of Arkansas and we're like, we're out of money, they would, okay, you can use your emergency credit card to fill the van up one time or something like that. But, we were really lucky to have that, because we definitely got into some binds like that before. But even after that, there's always ways, like I've heard of bands, even from Boston, that, they break down in the middle of Texas, and so they go to some restaurant and be like, hey, can we bust tables for a couple hours so we can get some gas money and get out of here, you know what I mean? And that's the kind of stuff that you need to do. You need to realize that you're not going to start a band in your garage and then play main stage Warped Tour like 3 days later. Like, it's not gonna, I mean, it does happen for some bands like that, and awesome, it's crazy, but what I've seen is a lot of bands that happens to, they don't last very long. They don't have careers, you know what I mean? A lot of times, like, the faster you go up, the faster you go down, you know what I mean? And so just get out and just work it, you know what I mean? Just play music, write as many songs as you can, never stop writing and recording and putting them online for people to hear, and screw selling them, just put them online. Get people to hear your songs before you convince them to buy it. You know what I mean? That's the big thing. Just put it up there.